we go for launch.
5.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting. Anything can happen in the next half hour.
4.
My friend, we cannot keep this a secret any longer.
This whole thing is insane.
3.
Quiet, please. I am analyzing.
Where's the kaboom?
2.
There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
1.
There have been films about earthquakes, airplane disasters, and blazing infernos. But there has never been anything like the Devil's Reign. His face.
That wasn't your father.
What's his face? John. Mother? Mother! Corvus! Damn you!
They had no faces.
The Devil's Reign. The 300-year search for the power to damn mankind is over.
Fools!
And the towering terror of the devil on Earth is now unleashed.
Burn!
Burn, 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 burn. The Devil's Reign. Hundreds of souls held captive in an eternity of hell.
Seize him!
Possessed by the devil.
You, my son, have defiled all that is holy.
Mother, my God, my God!
They become his worshippers and his demons. Devil's Reign, starring Academy Award winner Ernest Borgnine, Eddie Albert, William Shatner, Keenan Wynn, and Ida Lupino as Mrs. Preston, and with the special participation of Anton LaVey, High Priest of the Church of Satan. The Devil's Reign, conceived by the producer of A Man Called Horse, created by the masters of magic of Planet of the Apes. Together, they bring you a melting hell on Earth, and absolutely the most incredible, unforgettable ending of any motion picture ever. Heaven help us all when the devils reign.
Greetings, my fellow galactic travelers, and welcome back to Planet 8. This is your mission commander Larry speaking to you from our hidden base. Chief Engineer Bob is here by my side as always in the command center, and circling Planet 8 in our orbital spy satellite is Reconnaissance Officer Karen. And on this episode of Planet 8, once again we are blessed. Ooh, should I have said blessed? We are fortunate to have Lord Blood-Rah discussing The Devil's Reign with us today. Classic film from the 1970s. Where else are you going to find Ernest Borgnine, Bill Shatner, John Travolta, and more? Not Zsa Zsa Gabor, I said more. Let's kick it over to the Chief. Take it away, Chief.
And no, Mary Tyler Moore is not in this movie. So let's
lucky for her.
Let's take a little flashback. Let's go back in the Wayback Machine to the 1970s. And The Exorcist was a huge hit in the 1970s. And it spawned, no pun intended, quite a few devil movies. In fact, I got a little list here of some of them. Yeah, The Exorcist was like 1973. And after that came Abby, The Car, The Devil, To the Devil a Daughter, Lisa and the Devil, The Devil's Reign, of course, our subject today, The Omen, Omen 2, The Legacy, The Sentinel, which is actually pretty good, and The Bloody Exorcism of Joe Cotton, or of Cotton Joe. I think we should do that as an episode. But anyway.
Cotton Joe or Coffin Joe?
Coffin Joe.
Coffin Joe. I thought you said Cotton.
Did I say Cotton?
I thought you said Cotton. That's a whole different movie. That's a blaxploitation movie, I would assume, from the 70s.
No, Coffin Joe. Anyway. So Devils was a big thing back then. In fact, I was telling them before the episode, after Terror Mechagodzilla and before Godzilla 85, Toho was even considering doing a movie called Godzilla versus the Devil, which was actually even announced in Variety and never came to be. But Devils were big. That was a big thing back then. So The Devil's Reign came about. Sandy Howard, who was the producer of this thing, had an amazing idea to do a movie on the Church of Satan and have people melt at the end. And that was his total concept for the movie. So this was given to Robert First, who was the director of The Abominable Mr. Fibes and Dr. Fibes. And
he didn't go to Evil Doctor College for to be called Mr. Fibes.
Mr. Fibes, Dr. Fibes.
Dr. Fibes.
So basically, the movie, Larry mentioned part of the cast, it's got a pretty good pedigree.
Yeah.
Even the makeup was done by some of the people who worked on Planet of the Apes. So you'd think maybe it would be a pretty good film. Yeah, I like this movie. I really do. When I went to take a photo of William Shatner, unfortunately, they wouldn't don't talk to the star, just stand there, take a picture, get the hell off. I was going to ask him about Devil's Reign.
Yeah.
Man, it's such a great. In fact, this movie has the best Shatner scream of all time.
I agree. Yeah, you wouldn't think that kind of high-pitched sound could come out of William Shatner.
If I ever see Shatner again, I'm going to ask him to do that. See if he can still do it.
Oh my God, he'd break something at this point.
Yeah, I know. He's like inverted on a plank. We'll get into the movie in a minute, but he's inverted on a plank, and you just see his face, and his face writhes in pain, and he lets loose. I guess the best way to describe it is like a banshee type of scream.
Yeah,
just really high pitched. Like
Roger Waters in The Wall, or
much
careful
better
with that axe, Eugene.
Good comparison.
But anyway,
Bob, you had a missed opportunity when you met Mr. Shatner and took a photograph. They told me the same thing. Do not talk to him.
Yeah.
And I told the handler, oh, no, he will talk to me. I went up, sat there, broke wind, and when we took the picture, Shatner's like this. And he talked to me. What did you have for lunch? Anyway, I digress.
That's one way of doing it.
Shatner, at least when I went in, he said, "Hi, how are you?" And then at the end said, "Thank you," as I left. Whereas Adam West just kind of sat there like.
When I took a photo with Adam West, he would sit there, smile. They'd say, "Smile," and then when you walked away, he would go like this.
No, he didn't even smile.
Probably exhausted.
He was like looking at this one woman over on the side. He's not even looking at the camera in our shot. But anyway,
they wheel these poor guys out to do these things, and they probably don't even know where they are.
Yeah.
Rag and mouse. Yeah, but then you see some of the younger actors, like there were Jason Momoa or Grant Gustin or whatever, and they're like posing and goofing around, and smiling. And,
you know, they know what they're doing. They're still.
So anyways, back to The Devil's Reign. Came out in 1975, and I did see it, not in the theater, but in the drive-in.
Me too.
And when I saw it in the drive-in, yes, it was raining. So I got the full sort of sense around type of experience with it. But yeah, I think, you know, it definitely had a cast, and the cast was people who I think were coming up in the world, like Tom Skerritt and John Travolta. You had people that were kind of on the down plane of their career, sort of like Ida Lupino. And I was going to say Ernest Borgnine, but Ernest Borgnine was still doing some pretty impressive movies. And he was done with McHale's Navy, but he was in Willard. He was in Poseidon Adventure. He had a few movies going.
Escape from New York.
Yeah.
Escape from New York. Yeah. And of course, the Shat, who was kind of between Star Trek the series and Star Trek the movie or the motion picture. So
I think
he was
this was
doing, he was
probably
doing things like Kingdom of the Spiders and The Devil's Reign and Impulse and whatever. So
this was his camper years when he was kind of living out of his camper after his divorce.
Yeah.
So tough years for
maybe
him.
that's where that scream came from. He just channeled his whole life.
Probably.
And man, in this film, he's got the Shat meter turned to 11.
I agree. It's
Essentially
vintage Shatner.
Right, yeah. Including a scene where he yells the villain's name, Orbis. And I saw it and just immediately thought, Khan! Immediately, years before that famous Khan yell, but it's pretty much the same thing.
Now think about that. That's only about 7 years before Wrath of Khan. Think about how his situation changed.
Yeah.
You know, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
he had said in an interview, because they asked him about his acting style, and even other stars of the original series were like, you're working X amount of hours a day, X amount of days per week. You're given scripts, rewrites. And so in developing a character for TV, and granted, some actors are better actors than others, but Shatner was like, the way that he read Kirk was with that cadence and with that. And that Shatner style of acting, whether it's Kingdom of the Spiders, Denny Crane on Boston Legal, or Captain Kirk, that there's more Shatner in the, what's that?
The Barbary Coast.
The Barbary Coast.
Yeah. DJ Hooker.
His one episode on the Match Game, that's Bill Shatner. You're getting more Shatner than any other character he plays.
Shatner. It's kind of like Sean Connery. He's always Sean Connery. No matter what movie, he could be a Russian submarine commander, and he's still Sean Connery.
That's right.
Same with Liam Neeson. I think he's that kind of actor where you're going to see Liam Neeson, not his version of Shakespeare or whatever.
Well, see, I always want to see, obviously the time has passed, but I always thought it'd be cool if they cast a movie with William Shatner, Adam West, and Jack Palance. And just let them all just tear up the scenery through the whole movie.
Let me tell you, my
That's a lot of ham.
friend, with the advent of AI,
well, yeah,
that may happen, and you'll have Mo Howard as comedy relief for the straight man. So,
Yeah, you've got Shatner in there who is capable of chewing the scenery, and then you've got Borgnine, who's also, elevating it up over the top.
Well, and there's scenes together. Just that one scene where Mark Preston, William Shatner, first goes into the town, and he's looking for Corbus, and Corbus shows up, but he's like this smiling cowboy kind of guy. And I read somewhere, it's like, and it's true, where Ernest Borgnine had 4 characters in this movie. He had that first Corbus that appears and just does cracks me up because Shatner wants water. He's like pumping at the pump, and he's pumping and pumping and nothing's coming out. Corbus walks over, he goes, "Would you like some water?" He just gives it like one push and water comes out. But anyway, so he plays that character. He plays the priest, the satanic priest, and that's actually, we didn't mention that Anton LaVey, who created the satanic, the Church of Satan, he was basically a consultant on the film and has a little bit role as a high priest. And so everything that Ernest Borgnine is saying during these masses and the church and everything, that's all real stuff. I mean, that's real dialogue from Church of Satan. So anyway, so there's that one. There's the flashback to where he appears as basically like a pilgrim.
That's right.
And he plays Corbus back in the past, where he initially puts that book together.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the magnificent makeup at the end, where he appears as the ram demon.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like 4 different acting styles he's got to do in this one movie. But his scenes with Shatner, like that first one I was describing, are just great. Just the way they play off each other is like where they they challenge each other. My religion against yours, and they make the big bet.
Yeah,
of course Shatner has to resort to the gun, but
Borgnine plays it with this insane when he's playing when he kind of switches in the evil, plays it with this glint in his eye that is
also those eyebrows too.
And those eyebrows too. It's really disturbing. He was a great actor. He was a great actor. I mean, we should say there is a basic plot and goal to this movie.
Yes.
We should tell the
that
viewers,
gets lost along
listeners.
the way.
That gets totally lost. Side
Initially.
One of the two.
Right. The Preston family has this book. It is an ancient book from a satanic cult, and it is the list of souls that pledge their souls to the devil. Back in the day, they stole the book from Corbus. Corbus was the head of the satanic cult back in Pilgrim times, whenever. And that Corbus was burned alive, wasn't he?
Apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently, yeah. And the modern Corbus, if it's the same Corbus, we don't know, wants the book. That's the basic plot. Everything else is just thrown in there in weird and kind of fascinating ways.
Sandy Howard had this idea that he wanted to do a movie on the Church of Satan. He was working with Anton LaVey, and he wanted everybody to melt at the end. That was
why do they
concept.
Right, and they do. They melt.
Somehow
for like 8 minutes.
They had to expand it into a movie and put a bunch of stuff in the middle. So
they needed 2 hours in there. And I was laughing because Anton LaVey was the technical advisor. Now, the work of a technical advisor in a movie is for them to get everything right. So was Anton LaVey like, yes, when you give your soul to the devil, you lose your eyes and you become filled with this turquoise and orange goo that
Right.
if you're in the devil's rain, you melt out. And if you're shot, you bleed this orange and turquoise wax. Yeah, that's absolutely right.
For those of you watching on YouTube, I have my Planet 8 shirt on that has the colors of the goo in it.
Yes. Yes. You look like a Corbus Satanist that was shot. That's right.
I had not
Rain Goo Planet 8 t-shirt.
I hadn't seen this for many years. I know you guys were saying, well, we got to watch The Devil's Rain. I saw it when I was like a teenager. Didn't really remember much about it except Ernest Borgnine, William Shatner. It's like, okay, so I watched it last night. I have in my notes here, Satanists are gooey. This is one of my important notes. And because I couldn't believe, like over and over, we would just see the goo coming out of people who were shot, who were hit with the pitchfork, whatever injury, the goo, and close-ups of the goo splashing, goo on people, melted people. There was a lot of emphasis. So now Bob's background about the guy wanted 2 things, Satanists and goo, that makes a lot of sense.
You got it.
Now,
say this.
This movie back then was rated PG, or was it GP at that point?
Might have been GP.
Anyway, it was basically rated PG, and I think the whole idea behind this is just my theory. The whole idea behind the goo is that if they did all that with blood everywhere, oozing blood, then you're not going to get a PG rating. That would
that's interesting.
Probably a hard R back then.
And
so I think it was kind of to tame it down a little bit.
They pushed in the trailer. Well, first of all, in the trailer it says the thing that made me really want to see the film when I was a kid was from the Masters of Magic for Planet of the Apes. And I was like, oh wow, so the makeup must be great, which the makeup is very good. But I looked into it And, John Chambers and Dan Strepak, who did the makeup for the original Planet of the Apes, had nothing to do with this film. The makeup artist that worked on The Devil's Reign was a lab technician on Beneath the Planet of the Apes. So there's a connection there. There's a connection. But the big thing that they were pushing in the trailer was the end. You won't believe the end. You won't believe the ending. And then they show a good part of the ending. How much more shocking it would have been if that whole melting thing wasn't shown in the trailer at all.
But I mean, the ending, that whole melting scene goes on for about 3.5 hours. So
Yes,
I
did not fit it all into the trailer, but
it was at least 8 minutes, because that's when I started timing, and it was probably a few minutes more than that. So yeah, it's ridiculous.
And they said that was a huge makeup breakthrough, and maybe for back then, it's like, how do you get people's faces to ooze, I guess? That was
the goat man or the ram man, whatever. I thought that looked pretty good.
Oh yeah.
And it reminded me of the work that was done in Island of Dr. Moreau, which I think came a couple years after. 77, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that was Chambers involved with that, or was that, oh gosh, I should have done my
either
research.
Chambers or Strepak, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, one of them, I think.
Yeah, I think it was Chambers.
Okay.
But I will say, I think, and they're very similar, and this came out first. The Devil Rides Out from Hammer,
yes,
which has similar subject matter,
right,
with Satanists and the devil appearing in a mountainous. I think that is actually handled much. They have a goat man. This has a ram man. Whatever. It's just much more moody. And if you haven't seen Devil Rides Out, you should check it out, and you can compare the two. There's no ooze, but it does have a lot of.
You can make your own ooze.
A lot of mood, and it has Christopher Lee. So.
Yes.
No, I was reading where when they did the makeup so that the eyes they were supposed to look like hollow sockets, but when you look at it on a Blu-ray, you can see the little screens, and whatever.
Yeah.
Basically, they made a life mask, and then they had a very thin prosthetic over the forehead and eyes to basically black out the eyes. But it was that prosthetic or that life mask of Shatner that Don Post got hold of to make the Captain Kirk mask, which later became the Michael Myers mask.
Right.
So there is a horror lineage that comes out of Devil's Reign. But
I've heard that disputed, but when you see Shatner in the movie, it's like, yeah, that's the Kirk mask. So yeah, it definitely looks like it. Definitely.
It reminded me of the Tellurite makeup for Journey to Babel. Was it Tellurite? The
Journey to Babel, yeah.
Pig nose.
With the sunken eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, I could kind of see that. Yeah.
And I don't know if it was like an Alka-Seltzer type thing mixed with the resin that made the masks melt, but that first guy, Shatner's father, that shit was going in his mouth as it melted and stuff. I'm like, I don't know if it was toxic or what. No, thank you.
It was like creepy crawler goo.
Right.
I was like, whoa.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's the same stuff that they use to make milkshakes thick that aren't real ice cream milkshakes. I think it's that same stuff, so it's edible.
Sherbet?
Okay.
I guess. Sherbet, yeah. I guess it's edible. It looks like liquid sherbet now that you mention it, doesn't it? Yeah. It looks like liquid orange and lime sherbet.
Right.
May as well be.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That was nasty.
Yeah, and being in that makeup while you're melting all over the place had to be uncomfortable. Had to be terrible.
And then kind of going back to the casting a little bit too, Corbus's wife back in the Pilgrim times was played by Anton LaVey's wife. I think it was Linda LaVey or something.
Can't remember, yeah.
So he got her little role in there too. But
interesting.
And speaking of that, this was John Travolta's first film.
Yes.
Was.
And one of the actresses in the movie introduced John Travolta to Scientology. So he became a Scientologist after that. What if he had spoken to Anton LaVey? Spoke to her.
Yeah, he could have gone in
Could
two
have gone in a
totally
totally
different directions.
direction.
Yes.
Oh, and speaking of Anton LaVey, he was the technical advisor for this film. He was also a technical advisor on the movie The Car. Remember that film with James Brolin, the Satan-possessed car?
Yeah, that was one of the movies I mentioned at the beginning.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. What was his role in that film? Yes, this is how a Satan-possessed car would act. That's absolutely right. Yeah. As the head of the Church of Satan, I could verify that.
Now,
What?
if he could possess a car, here's how he would do it.
This guy
How
is
did
just,
he get paid for this?
just taking the money and smiling all the way to the bank.
Oh yeah.
There's this great interview with Kevin Smith, and at one point in time, he was going to work on a Superman film with
With Anton LaVey as Superman. Oh.
No, it was I can't think of his name.
Not as convincing as Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage, yeah, and he was like, he turned in the script, and they're like, well, no, we want the Superman to not have a cape, and he's like, Superman without a cape? Yeah, and we don't want him to fly. Superman not flying. Okay, but he really wanted to work on a Superman film, so he'd make these edits. And we want these giant spiders. And he says at some point, you're getting all this feedback, and you're like, this, I can't do this. This isn't for me. Apparently, Anton didn't have that kind of conviction. So,
no.
Satanists with goo? Sure. We all have goo inside. Yeah.
And to carry on from that same producer who wanted to do that failed Superman film later did the Wild Wild West film
with Will Smith,
and he got his giant spider.
He got his giant spider.
But if you want to talk about a movie that is even worse than The Devil's Rain, that would be Wild Wild West.
The movie, not the series.
The series. Love the series.
Yeah, that movie. Yeah.
So in this film, as you guys have seen this many times, I've only seen it the 2 times. So last night I'm watching it. I'm like, oh, Shatner is the protagonist. So I'm going along for 20 minutes or so, and he's the hero. Oh, he's been captured. Well, surely he shall figure a way to escape. And then, he'll come back and what? Nope. And then all of a sudden, wait, oh, Tom Skerritt is the protagonist. And like, well, I guess he is. There was so many weird, things that happened narratively in this movie. And maybe that's like being kind to it. But yeah, it seems like Shatner's the star. And then he just sort of isn't. He's swept off to be a, plot detail, and then Skerritt kind of comes on, and he never quite seems like he really is the protagonist. I'm never sure that he's going to stay the protagonist. I don't know. It's weird. Like he's his brother who's doing these ESP experiments with Eddie Albert, and it's like, what does this have to do with anything?
Right. His wife kind of has this psychic energy thing.
Well, right. She has the visions of what is going to happen, but she also has the flashback where they learn where the book came from, and
so that's why that was necessary.
Corvus being burned at the stake and everything else.
Got the Shannon.
5 families.
Right. And Skerritt ends up not to be the hero. The actual hero, the proactive hero, is Eddie Albert, right? Who comes in and smashes the thing, and
he lifts it over his head. And
then Shatner takes it from him
easily.
And then it's the kind of battle of consciousness or battle of religions in his head.
All right.
And then he finally destroys the Devil's Rain or the Earth or whatever you want to call it.
And we should say, and this again, so confusing. The point was for Corvus to get the book that had all of the names of the souls that he was going to lead to hell, so he could capture all of those souls and take them to hell. But it turns out he's already got all of those souls in this ceramic hell jar called the Devil's Rain, which apparently holds these souls in this perpetual rain. And at the end of the movie, that jar is broken. The souls, I guess, escape, and the rain comes down and melts everybody. So if he already had the souls, why did he need the book?
Because you can't do anything without the paperwork.
Exactly.
So it's all about the bureaucracy then,
It's
right?
hell is a bureaucracy. That's why it's hell.
You know,
you can't accept these souls. Where's your paperwork?
That's right. Where's the paper? Where are the forms on this thing?
We should have known we were in trouble. The poster has, hellfire and souls falling, and it says, "Heaven help us all when the devils reign!" Exclamation mark. And it's like, huh?
Yeah. That line's in the trailer too, and it makes no sense.
But here's my question on the whole urn thing. And it looks like a big Fabergé egg or whatever.
Like a TV set.
Yeah.
But at the end, I'm gonna give away the end because if you're watching, listening to this, you probably seen.
So stop listening now.
Basically,
you give a damn.
Preston, Tom Skerritt hugs his girlfriend, and they have a kind of a pan around with the camera, and it turns out that she's Corbus.
Right.
And then it cuts to his wife in the urn, or where is she? Because she's in something with the rain and the glass.
She's in the Devil's Rain. Yeah.
So
it was destroyed.
Devil's Rain. Are they starting
it open?
A new one, or
leaving it open for a sequel, which thankfully never happened.
But they did not. That's one of the many things that was never explained in this movie.
Somebody thought they were clever.
I mean, that was definitely a surprise ending. I remember when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, she's Corbus." But but
makes no goddamn sense.
Oh well.
Maybe they should have once they showed that he was Corbus. Maybe they should have just cut right there.
Right. Oh, one thing I noticed too, or another thing I noticed was the movie starts in this intense rainstorm. William Shatner is coming home to this New Mexico house in this intense downpour, and his father is missing, so he's out looking for his father. Can't find his father. The father ends up coming home, and he's the first guy to melt.
Yeah,
he just melted.
He melts good too. He winds up in a puddle.
He melted real good. Yeah. So after that, Shatner goes to leave the house, and the ground is absolutely dry.
And it's daytime.
But did you notice everything is dry? That was dust. There should have been mud. He shouldn't have been able to move that truck because it should have been mired deep in mud. The ground is absolutely dry. And they reference the storm later in the movie. The ground is dry. There's
not only that, but in the time it takes Shatner to go from the house to the truck, hears the scream and runs back. The Satanists had already been there. They ransacked the house. They strung up his uncle or grandfather, whoever it was.
That's right.
And they moved fast. Because he went to the truck.
Admittedly, Shatner hesitates, and then he does sort of this ambling run. I was like, can't you run? I know you can run faster than that.
That was his run from the arena.
Well, no, he's run faster than that. That dude can. I was like, man, if my mom was in trouble, I can haul ass faster than that.
He needed time to
Shatner can run
emote.
faster than that, though.
He needed time to emote.
Because, like I say, look at him in the arena and whatever. Sure. He's not running like Tom Cruise or something.
Well, Tom Cruise is in a class by himself. That little man can just run. That's what he does.
And jump on sofas, but I digress.
Daniel Craig's a good runner, but
I pulled up.
I don't think Shatner's in that category. He kind of does the kind of Shatner jog.
Right.
I pulled up Lord Blood-Rah. You mentioned the rain and the ground is dry. The definition of devil's rain, or one of the definitions, is a metaphorical expression referring to the phenomenon of rain falling while the sun is shining. Which that was not the case, but maybe they were thinking rain, sun, or maybe they just weren't paying attention.
Definition is rain that dries really fast.
Yeah, there you go, Bob.
I think that's it. Yeah, and
Let's see,
it's
where did
kind
they
of a
film?
surprise because the director, John Fust, I think it is, or
Fust, yeah.
Fust, I think so.
Mhm.
Before this, did or directed a number of episodes of the Avengers TV series in Britain. Then did both the Doctor Fives movies, which are both great. Then he did this, and this movie essentially killed his theatrical career. After this, he directs episodes of television series, and I think maybe one more feature a couple of years later that really didn't do anything. But
See, the
he
Avengers. See, the Avengers is like another series I loved that had a movie that was crap.
Oh, I forgot that they did a movie based on
Was
that.
it Uma Thurman and who was
Liam
it?
Neeson? No, I
don't
totally
know.
forgot that movie. That's right.
Roy Finnis or something. Anyway, yeah, no, it was.
But he's a very
Terrible.
stylish director.
Huh?
And then he comes to this. So lack of budget, excuse me, or I don't know, just lack of material in this.
It was actually a co-production between the U.S. and Mexico.
Yeah.
And it was shot mostly down in Mexico.
Yeah. Well,
Durango, Mexico.
Durango.
Right. The producers found some loophole that Britain had with Mexico, that they could make the movie in Mexico on the cheap. So they did it that way, which is probably the only way that they could afford these, the cast that they did, because the cast is still, like you say, a lot of actors on the downslope of their career, but still solid
or upcoming,
well-known names.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because Travolta has a very small role. He's in the movie for
very small,
literally seconds.
Yeah.
He has one line that's 2 words repeated: blasphemer, blasphemer. But between the time that they shot the movie and the time it was released, Welcome Back, Kotter came on the air, and it was a big hit. So suddenly his name got put into the credits.
That's right.
More predominantly, and all the advertising as well.
Oh, if I'm not hallucinating this, believe I saw a VHS release of this film that said starring
John
Travolta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rub your nose like a rubber hose.
Well, and Tom Skerritt, I mean, he was definitely on the way up. And 4 years later, he's in Alien.
Yeah.
And he went on to do a lot of other films and TV.
MASH he was in the feature film MASH.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
this,
he had a small role in that too.
Which was around
so he'd
the
been
same
around.
time as Devil's Reign, right? 73, 74?
Maybe like, what? A little bit earlier, I think.
I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
One. Right, because it would have been
1970.
Like 60s, so
70. Okay, so
MASH was 1970.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But they were kind of, I don't know, in the right place. Well, the movie was in the right place at the right time to be able to get all these different actors. But
it was a hell of a film.
It's a hell of a thing, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Makes me want to cover Night of the Lepus next.
just watch that for Easter.
Oh my God.
But
there you go. Good old DeForest Kelly.
You got Shatner in The Devil's Reign, and you got DeForest Kelly in Night of the Lepus.
Yeah.
God, what did Nimoy make any
Nimoy
turds around this time?
Invasion of Body Snatchers.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Oh, see, he was in a good one.
A good film.
Yeah.
He got the good one. Yeah.
He got the good one. The other one's kind of.
He did a
all I will say about The Devil's Reign is just I've always found it entertaining.
Oh yeah,
the acting is good. I enjoyed the acting.
The acting, the melting, the ram makeup on Ernest Borgnine, evil Ernie. Yeah, it's just I enjoy it. That's why I watch it.
Yeah, it's cheesy fun.
It's a cult movie. It's a cult classic, and any of you like it or you don't. But
Oh yeah.
No harm, no foul.
Yeah.
Everybody has those things that they, their guilty pleasures, cheesy movies they like. So
Karen gets to pick the topic for the next episode because
she
dragged her kicking and screaming into
I,
the
that is one of the most controversial films
Oh
ever,
yes.
and I love it.
Oh, I love it too.
There you go. I think it's one of the best science fiction films of the 1960s, 60s, 70s, 60s, or that period.
Early 70s, I think. I think
Yeah.
it's very misunderstood. I
think so too.
And I think maybe the execution suffered a little bit, but I think there's a lot of really great ideas in there.
That's a film that you have to see the theatrical version of, because the first time I saw it was the television edit, and they cut out so much. There's kind of more adult themes in it. When you see the theatrical release, it's like, oh, okay, now I understand what they're saying in this, and what the nuance of this movie. I love that film.
Yeah, it's cool. It's too easy for people to fixate on Connery and his little red loincloth. So
yeah. Could have been worse. It could have been Burt Reynolds. He offered it to Burt Reynolds and he turned it down.
Oh my.
Oh yeah.
Just smiles from Larry and Bob.
just silence.
If you want to tackle Zardoz, we can tackle Zardoz.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, no, it's fine. You'd lose half your audience. So.
Although I have seen, for whatever, I don't know why, but I've seen Zardoz t-shirts popping up lately.
Yeah, I do
Like
too.
a big Zardoz head on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
And then there's one of Connery in his loincloth.
Sure.
Connery in the diaper or whatever.
I think people are rediscovering it.
I was going to send those links to Karen. I figured she'd want to get those. But.
Incredible trailer. Incredible
Zardoz.
I've seen the future and it doesn't work. You got to. That's a great tagline for a movie.
And how prophetic was that?
Sadly.
Well,
on that note,
that should tell you about this movie. We just went off into Zardoz land. And just kind of, oh yeah, that's right, Devil's Reign. Well, what else can we talk about?
Cult movies that make no sense and the plot doesn't really. Anyway, but Zardoz did not have Shatner. If one of the things, many things I miss from Thrillville. The Thrillville days is the annual Shat Fest.
Yes.
And there were, Priceline commercials Will would show in a movie and, an episode of Star Trek or something. It was a lot of fun.
Impulse, Shatner's serial killer.
Impulse. That was the first time I saw Impulse. I think Karen and I were there. But yeah. Now we have to do our own Shat Fest at home. Take a look at the Shat Encyclopedia.
I'll tell you a quick story. The last time I saw Forrest J. Ackerman, and this was not at the Acker Mansion, this was at the Acker condo where he had this little
the Acker trailer
that he was at. And we went in there and he was just kind of sitting there. He wasn't really talking. He wasn't saying anything. And we were looking at some of what he had left in his collection. And suddenly this guy came in with his girlfriend. His girlfriend was like really cute. And suddenly Forrest J. Ackerman was like, welcome, hello. And then he's like, have you ever heard of Esperanto? And then he's like, it's the universal language. And then he went on. We were all looking at stuff and he was going on and on and on with her about Esperanto or whatever. And it's just like,
typical dude.
That's funny. I had some friends, cheeky friends, and I'm like, yeah, Shatner, they were Shatner fans. He did a movie in Esperanto, and they're like, what's Esperanto? Is that, like piece of clothing? And I'm like, no, that's not a style of clothing. Esperanto is the universal language. And they did not believe. So we had them over for dinner and we showed them
Incubus.
Incubus, yeah. I was thinking Inferno. And boy, they had a good time. That's a good movie.
Yeah.
I showed before that we watched that episode of Red Dwarf where they find Crichton for the first time, and
Yes.
he's speaking. Rimmer's trying to speak Esperanto, thinking that there were women there in the ship, and they've all been dead for like 100 years, so it's just skeletons with wigs. Anyway,
But they're all dead.
yeah,
I just left a moment ago.
just left a moment ago. And that actor, I forget his name, wasn't the actor who played Crichton for the rest of the series.
No, different actor.
Llewellyn, but
Yeah.
in any case, we've diverged quite a bit. Any last minute thoughts or comments for The Devil's Reign and company?
I might go buy some sherbet.
Sherbet.
And melted
You
it.
all
Just
have
drizzled
to
it all
go-
over my face.
You'll have to go and order your Planet 8 shirts in sherbet color.
Sherbet.
There you go. There you go.
My understanding of how to pronounce it is sherbet, not sherbet.
All right, Herbert.
It reminds me of Shatner when, you say sabotage, I say sabotage.
Sabotage. Yes.
Whatever floats one's boat in the name of Shatner.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Like the days when we would tape 3 episodes in a row, and by the third one, we'd just barely be able to talk.
Shatner will be at the GalaxyCon in San Jose in August, for those of you.
Oh.
Let's all go down and get him to do the Devil's Reign screen.
Yes, and fart next to him when you take his picture. He'll make a comment. Trust me.
I wanted to go see him at the Star Trek set in Ticonderoga, and by the time I went to look for tickets, they were all sold out.
For this year's, wow, I thought about that too, and I'm like,
yeah.
Wasn't he going to be like in Napa or something coming up?
Yeah, he's going to be watching the Wrath of Khan
in Napa
with us, and then come out and he did that in Cupertino. That was one of the first dates Jazz and I went out on. She's not a Star Trek fan at all, but enjoyed the movie. All the beats hit, and she was like all caught up in it. So
we know he came out here a few years ago. Actually, now that must have been like 6 or 7 years ago, and did that Wrath of Khan thing, and we went and did that and enjoyed it. And he's going to be out here again towards the end of the year. And I went to look at the tickets. Oh my God, it's like $200 a person. And that's not for getting, that's just to see the movie. It's not even to get like a picture or anything with him. And I was like, I've done it already. I'm good. I don't need to do it again.
Yeah.
Well, look at concert tickets these days too. I mean,
right?
Yeah.
When I go to a concert, forget it.
Right.
Hell, look what they're charging for Bernie and AOC. Last year, I regret I had something to do on Sunday, but the Inglorious Trexperts did a watch party with Shatner at GalaxyCon, and
Star Trek 5.
Yes, Star Trek 5, and comment on it. And I just kick myself for missing it. I mean, the wedding I went to, they're already divorced. So no, just kidding.
What do you say, Commander? Should we try to get some press passes to GalaxyCon?
Yes.
I wonder if the audience was gracious during.
Maybe
I would.
I heard they were. I listened to that podcast. The Inglorious Trexperts are really, really good. They're funny and they know their stuff. And they said that actually the audience was like the perfect audience for Shatner. Very respectful, but they were to hear him talk about the film, and it went really well. And Shatner was just like dumbfounded, like, why does it want me to do this? Like, why do you want to know about what I think of the movie?
There had to be some involuntary laughter.
Well, they charged, I think, $40 to watch it. So, if you're going to shit on the film, unless you're
not going to pay that
badly,
One of my most
some people will pay that just to shit on a film.
One of my most embarrassing memories is going to see Star Trek V for the first time, and after that first scene where Cybok rides up on that unicorn and has that conversation with the miner, I turned to my wife and said, "This may be the best Star Trek movie ever made." And by the end of the movie, I was like, No.
I take that back.
I take that back.
I thought it was the best Star Trek movie ever made when Spock did the grip to the horse. And I'm like, whoa, he Vulcan gripped a horse.
I thought you were going to say when Uhura did her little dance.
That too.
Oh.
You know what, though? Even in like the lamest Star Trek movie or lamest episode, there's always something. I always find something
Yes.
that I really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And like in that movie, you know, like the campfire scene, you know, or there's always something that you can look at and you get something out of it.
You see the campfire scene, I always go right back to Blazing Saddles.
I agree with you, Walker. McCoy experiencing the death of his father
and that's probably, that's probably the best scene.
Yes.
There's always pieces that add to the story or to the character, or you know, the big three, the campfire scene.
Pain. I need my pain.
Yeah.
Yes. Or they make
the
valid
best line
statement
in
about
that whole
humanity.
movie is, "What does God need with a starship?"
What does God need with the starship? Yeah.
Yeah.
Admiral, not in front of the Klingons.
There's good moments in it, but there was a lot of missteps, obviously, and they let things in the previous film like, oh, we've got to be funny, so there were a lot of things they did to the detriment of the characters, and you know.
Now I
But
gotta
anyway,
go watch. Now I got to go back and watch Star Trek V again.
But look, just like Devil's Reign, we love the Devil's Reign. It doesn't make sense. Walker and Lord Blood-Rah, I'm not sure, but we love the motion picture, and the motion picture is not a perfect film. It is not a perfect film, especially the original theatrical release, but it speaks to us in a way that doesn't speak to Bob, and that's fine, because you know, Batman versus Superman, I snuck it in, speaks to me, unlike Walker and Bob. So you know.
We're gonna do Batman versus Superman in the next episode.
Lord
All three of us
Blood-Rah,
are gonna gang pile on Larry.
Yeah.
But Star Trek the motion picture, I've heard it said, and I don't really agree with it, but I've heard it said that it's actually the only Star Trek movie, because it's the only film that takes the principles of the series and translates it into a movie. I don't quite agree with that. I would argue Star Trek 6 does that very well as well. You know, the other ones are more action adventure, but along the way they do make valid points. Like in Star Trek 5, I need my pain. Your negative memories are part of your personality. You can't sacrifice them without losing who you are. All of them make valid points about humanity and what it is to be human along the way. But 6 specifically does carry on that message and those traditions. A bit slow paced, a bit, you know, could have benefited from a bit more editing, but no, I do love that film. Yeah, definitely.
I would argue all the films, and I know people have their thoughts, but even with Wrath of Khan, I mean, the gift that he gives Kirk for his birthday, the best of times, the worst of times, message spot, none that I'm aware of, other than happy birthday, Admiral.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Struggling with getting older.
The conversation with McCoy. Well, what the hell are we doing then, Jim? Why are we treating this like a funeral? You know, valid. And then he finds out he has a son. Anyway.
Yeah, what were we talking about? Devil's Reign?
Yeah, apparently we need to have a podcast covering the Star Trek film.
Star Trek version.
Yeah. Well, look, you got Shatner in a project. We're going to talk about Sherbet, and we're going to talk about Star Trek.
Right.
So
yeah, we didn't mention McHale's Navy. Borgnine was in there.
Luckily, Tim Conway was not part of the Devil's Reign. So,
do you know what the horror connection is with Tim Conway?
Oh, just in general with Tim Conway?
Back in Cleveland, he got
yes,
start with Ernie Anderson, who played Ghilardi.
That's right.
Host Ghilardi. And Tim Conway came out and he starred in, or co-starred or whatever, in McHale's Navy. And he talked Ernie Anderson into coming out to Hollywood. And Ernie Anderson became the voice of ABC. Next week on The Love Boat.
I highly recommend going to YouTube and looking up Ernie Anderson. It's either bloopers or outtakes. It's not safe for work, but it is hilarious. Apparently, he was a very angry, bitter man.
Oh my! I'm gonna have to
There's
check this
this
out.
great clip that he was also the voice or narrator for America's Funniest Home Videos.
Oh, ABC.
Yeah. And they show him recording some kind of a promo for America's Funniest Home Videos. And then he gets done recording and he turns and looks in the camera and goes, "Hey, group over there." And it's like he goes into his Goulardi shtick.
Nice.
And it's just hilarious. But
That's cool.
I think that was a special on Goulardi that was done by Big Chuck and Little John, who were a couple other horror hosts back there in Cleveland.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, kids. Well,
so Devil's Reign, right?
Devil's Reign. We're at the part of the podcast where we're leaving the Devil's Reign and we're going to talk about Lord Blood-Rah's what's coming up, what's happening, what's going on. This is a censor sweep.
Same old. Go to lordbloodrah.com. You'll find my latest episodes of the podcast. One new thing that I did that I finally got around to, and it took me days because they don't make it easy. But I populated my IMDb page for Lord Blood-Rah's Nerve-Wracking Theater.
That's cool.
So all the episodes are up there, 14 seasons and counting. I'm in the middle of the 14th season now. And they're all up there along with some trivia and other information and things like that. So check that out to see what all the movies that I've done over the past it's been 13 years since I started the show. And other than that, lordbloodrah.com. Check it out on YouTube, and more episodes are coming.
Well, I do follow you on Facebook and Instagram, and I saw you had a 3D, get your 3D glasses ready.
Yes. Yeah, that premiered yesterday. Yeah, it's a 3D special. It was a Halloween special I did in 2020. And I had converted one of the films from that episode, The Ghost of Sierra de Cobre, which is an incredible TV pilot that they did a feature film edit of. Joe Stefano, who was the producer of The Outer Limits, did it. It was kind of X-Files before X-Files, about this architect who is a psychic, kind of sensitive, who investigates ghosts. The thing is eerie. It's very frightening. As a matter of fact, it didn't get picked up because people said it was far too frightening.
Oh, wow.
And I converted it to 3D. And I first presented it at a live show in Illinois, and it worked out really well. So I edited that into this episode, and also an episode of Roald Dahl's Way Out called Dissolve to Black. And I converted that to 3D too. So if you've got a pair of those old-fashioned red and blue 3D glasses, mine is always on my desk. Go ahead and check it out. It's on YouTube.
Without them.
You don't leave home without them. That's right.
Awesome. I was looking to see where my pair was. They're not over on the poster where I usually have them, but yeah.
Back here.
Anyway, that's cool. Walker, you have anything you want to share with us?
Well, I'm still doing the YouTube thing. So let's see, when this comes out, I might have a couple more episodes out on YouTube. I already put out an episode on what was it? Lathe of Heaven by Ursula Le Guin. Doing an episode on The Drowned World by J.G. Ballard. Gotta say, I did not enjoy that book very much. I didn't really want to do a show on a book I didn't enjoy, but I did it anyway. Tomorrow, I'm going to a small comic con here. It's the Scottsdale Comic Book Con, but they call it the Old Man Con. So Old Woman will be going to Old Man Con.
You didn't invite me and Larry.
And checking it out. Well, all old men are invited. So anyway, I'll see what that's about. I think I'm mostly going to look for, I was thinking of looking for some Marvel mags, like the Planet of the Apes mags. And they did Unknown World science fiction. Our good friend Billy, who does the Monsters and Magazines podcast, has been covering some of those unknown worlds of science fiction mags, and that's making me want to get a hold of some of those. So anyway, I'll be heading to that, and maybe I'll find something to cover on my show or show here or whatever. So
cool.
It's about what I'm up to.
Very good.
Well, as you know,
any conventions or anything coming up?
Godzillafest coming up. Go to Godzillafest.com for all the information.
Hey, tickets are going fast, kids, so you want to jump on that. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, tickets are up for sale. So grab them now. I'm just about to confirm the venue for the meet and greet on Friday night. And probably by the time this podcast comes out, it'll be up on the website. Ooh. And let's see, what else? I'm going to go see Sinners tomorrow with Dell. See how that is.
Heard nothing but great things about that film.
Yeah, I've heard some good things. So, and I loved Nope. You know, another Ryan Coogler. So I'm hoping this is on a par with that. And man, what else is coming up? That's probably have lunch with Larry this week sometime.
Yeah.
Other than that,
hey, I made the censor sweep.
There you go. Oh, speaking of IMDb, Larry and I actually have entries on IMDb from when we were on Creature Features, I guess.
Way back.
That got us on IMDb. So,
well,
go to YouTube and look up Creature Features Planet 8. That's the episode should come up. The movie was The Manster that we did.
Manster.
The Manster.
Manster eating Shabbit. Shibbit.
I'm going to watch Creature Features tonight, though, because they've got an old favorite of mine, The Zombies of Moratau.
Oh, yeah. They're on YouTube, right?
YouTube, Vimeo. They've got their own Creature Features website you can watch it on. And yeah,
cool.
Cool stuff. I don't know who the guest is or anything, but Zombies of Moratau are enough to drag me in.
That's enough.
I'll watch that after Sven Gulli, who's showing Willard with Ernest
Borgnine.
That's right.
Larry, do you say caramel or caramel?
Depends on if I'm feeling saucy or not, Walker.
Potato.
Caramel or caramel?
Croissant or croissant?
I tend to say caramel if I'm talking about the candy, but caramel if I'm talking about the sauce, and I have no idea why. I have no explanation.
I love it
at all.
Or caramel if you're talking about the city.
Is it?
Yes. It's actually the first time I've even ever thought of that. So
is it?
I'm happy to give that thought to you.
Is it root beer or root beer?
Root.
It's root beer if you're east of Mason-Dixon.
My mother says root. No, root. She says root beer.
Root beer.
She says, what is a root? I'm like, it's the bottom of a plant. No, it's not. Like, she won't say glove box in a car. She calls it a cubby hole. What's a cubby?
A cubby hole?
Well, I've heard a cubby hole, but not for a glove box.
Not for a glove box, yeah.
That's where you keep your cubbies.
And yeah, where you keep your cubbies, exactly.
Here's your dialect lesson for the day, kids. You turn in Planet 8 and you get an entirely different
Planet 8
than you expect.
Planet 8.
Planet 8.
This has almost become a grab bag episode, hasn't it?
Most of them are.
Off on a tangent.
In cleaning my office at work, I came across, and I had Jasmine put this in plastic. This was one of the first designs Bob came up.
Oh, geez.
For Planet 8.
Wow.
And so Jasmine laminated it for me. So I'm going to find some place to put it up back here.
Very nice.
Well, that seems like a lifetime ago. Holy cow.
Right?
Oh, and you know what? If we've got the time,
well, I was
honored to be given this some time ago, and it kind of justifies my frequent appearances on the show. I am an honorary member, if you can see that. Oh, good.
Yes.
And it went away.
The fifth
He's
Beatle.
disappearing.
I haven't
He's
believed
coming.
Lord Blood-Rah
I'm an
disappearing.
honorary member of. I can't show you without disappearing into the mist, but believe me, I am an honorary member of this podcast, so that explains my frequent appearances.
Thank you. Other
We're
than
having
that,
too much fun.
Yes.
Other than finding the Planet 8 piece of history, I loved the Daredevil series on Disney. It finished.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to season 2. Confirmation there will be a season 2. I'm really deep into Andor right now. I loved the first season of Andor.
So I'm right on the fence because the first season, I never made it through the first season. I got bored and quit.
A lot of people.
So I would have to go back, finish the first season, and then get into the second one. But
yeah, it's not an easy watch. And, the whole thing is how do you build a rebellion and what sacrifices you make?
I'm all about easy watches. So.
Well,
man.
Seems more relevant now than perhaps.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So is anybody watching The Last of Us?
Yes. Well, God, that was a hard one to watch.
Last episode of The Last of Us.
I don't have HBO right now. I'm going to get it when all the episodes are there, and then I'll binge it, and then I'll probably dump it.
See, I don't play the game, so I had no idea what was coming up.
Me neither.
But
I watched the first season. Don't give it away because I'm
gonna give anything away.
Doing the same thing. I season 3 of Dark Winds is out, but none of my stupid things have it, so I'm gonna have to pull it in and watch it and then dump it again.
Yeah,
that was about Larry when he met Shatner, right? Dark Winds.
Has anyone seen Paradise?
Yes, that surprised the heck out of me. We tuned into that thinking, oh, it's a Secret Service guy and there's something going on with the president. And towards the end of the first episode, I'm like, this is not what it appeared.
That's right.
What is that on?
I saw it on Hulu.
These days of more than 4 stations have me totally baffled. It's out there somewhere in the ether.
That was a very interesting season show, whatever. Yeah.
Which, sorry?
That Hulu, I mean the Paradise, that was a really interesting show because one, I was surprised what it was about. And then again, it was like topical in a sense. I don't think I'll be giving, kids, if you haven't seen it, you may not want to listen to this.
I haven't seen Paradise.
Neither have I.
Once again, it was dystopian. Why are we're surrounded by dystopian themes, and it's just, I don't know. Anyway, you can think what you want about it. I don't know. Lord Blood-Rah.
I will check it out.
What are your thoughts?
It definitely dystopian. A lot of dystopian themes happening today in the same kind of way that they cropped up in the late 60s, early 70s during civil rights and all of that. You had
Vietnam, Watergate.
Yeah. You had all of the Charlton Heston, Planet of the Apes, Soylent Green, that kind of thing.
Mega Man.
Right, yeah, Rollerball, that kind of
Devil's
thing.
Rain.
Devil's Rain. Right.
And now we're back.
All film genres, but especially horror and science fiction, reflect the times, and horror and science fiction tend to reflect the anxiety of the times.
Very true.
Damnation Alley.
Damnation.
Another movie I saw in a drive-in in the.
Me too. Yeah,
the Landmaster.
Right. Yeah. Jan Michael Vincent. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Before he was totally nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. Poor guy. Wow. He had a lot of problems.
Man, there's some big cockroaches.
Yes.
You used to be able to drive down Highway 5 going down to L.A. and see the vehicle from Damnation Alley off the side of the freeway.
That's right.
Oh, really?
I always used to look for that. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I have no idea where that thing is now.
The things you learn on this podcast.
Right?
Especially when we go off on tangents.
Yes.
Having nothing to do with the actual subject of the of
I
this.
think I
We're
liked
in the
the Arc
censor
2
sleep
better.
section. We can pivot.
I will say I liked Daredevil. Didn't love it. I was annoyed in the sense that it felt like half a season because, oh, okay, things were left at sort of a cliffhanger position in that, oh, okay, we're going to fight. Okay, now I'm really going to be Daredevil and we're going to fight, Kingpin. I felt that the scene with the police chief was gratuitous because we already know he's a bad guy, and I've already seen him slam a dude's head in a car door multiple times. I know he will do bad stuff, so that it was over the top and unnecessary to me. Not that I've seen violent things. I've seen, lots of violent stuff, and I worked for a veterinarian, so I've done surgery. That stuff doesn't get to me. I just felt it was unnecessary.
It was surprisingly comic book violence for a show that has such a realistic gritty tone to it.
Mm.
Well, how about
I was
Wilson
surprised by
Fisk
that
crushing
too.
that guy's head?
That's what
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very surprising.
Yeah, it just seemed unnecessary.
Yeah, I'll agree.
That didn't bother me that much, but
What didn't bother me? It was a weird tone shift.
I think it was supposed to just show how ruthless Fisk is at that point.
Felt like
he ain't messing around anymore.
I liked it.
We already knew.
I want more of it. No, just kidding.
Oh God.
I don't know how long we are, if we need to wrap this up. I don't know. But have you watched The Penguin?
No.
Oh.
That's what I heard. I'll have to check it out.
That's all I'm gonna say about it. Yeah. He that actor who played the Penguin, unrecognizable in the role. Irish actor. Oh, good God, help me.
Colin.
Yes.
Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
Won, I believe, a Golden Globe or an Emmy or some award for it, and
he did.
Definitely deserved it.
Wow.
Definitely deserved it. Absolutely amazing, especially under all that makeup to get that performance that you would not think it was him. Anyway, great series.
Yeah.
Has anybody watched Foundation on Apple?
No, it's on my list. Not yet.
Okay.
You like it?
Well, if you hated Dune, you'll probably hate Foundation.
Okay.
So.
I love
okay.
Dune, so I'll
Take
watch
that
it.
one off the list. There we go.
Scratch.
I loved both films, so I'll definitely like it.
Yeah, check it out. From what I understand, it bears only slight resemblance to Asimov's actual Foundation stories, but.
Oh, is that right? Oh.
Yeah.
What was the name of that movie with the robot mother?
Raised by Wolves.
Raised by Wolves. Lord Blood-Rah. Did you watch Raised by Wolves?
No, I heard about it, but I haven't gotten to it yet.
I loved that.
There's so much out there.
I know, isn't it crazy? And Murderbot's going to be coming out.
This time of streaming, you hear about a TV or a series that, oh, that sounds really interesting. Well, it's in its 4th season. Oh, fuck. Why am I just now hearing about it?
Oh, did you guys see the trailer?
What's that?
I was going to say, did you see the trailer for the Predator?
No,
film?
I got turned off by the look of the Predator.
I looked at it, and at first I was like, what? But then they said it's a young. I was like, maybe, okay.
Looks like the training of a young predator, I guess.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see.
I forgot to tell you, Lieutenant Jasmine and I watched The Woman in the Yard. Last night.
Get out of my yard.
Much the same as The Devil's Reign. It has a beginning, middle, and end, but they don't necessarily connect.
Okay.
It was interesting. Don't think I'll watch it again. Don't think I'll buy the physical media. I can appreciate how they were trying to throw us off the direction or the plot.
Okay. Interesting.
Right. All right, my friends. I think we've just come up to that hour mark, so we can end the podcast.
So we filled in enough. Is that what you're trying to say?
I thought
Welcome
we flew
to-
past the
It's
hour.
okay. Most people turned off a half hour ago. That's all right.
Welcome
You
to
brave
Oops, All
souls.
Pivots.
Be sure to stay with us. Our next episode's going to be all about
Zardoz.
Zardoz. And there goes the rest of our viewers.
We did an episode on movies. Some of us like and some of us hate.
And remember, kids, if you see your mission commander at a convention, don't take a picture with him. On that note, thank you again, Lord Blood-Rah, for being with us.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for
I
having
hope you'll come back after today's podcast.
me. Anytime. Anytime.
He has to. He's an honorary member.
That's right.
Got the certificate and everything.
It's official.
It's official.
All right, kids. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We're out on Spotify. We're out on the Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Watch all or check out all the social medias, Facebook and Instagram. Follow Lord Blood-Rah. Like and subscribe. Stay safe. Take care of each other until we see you again. This is Planet 8 signing off. Live long and prosper.
On that note, this will conclude this transmission from Planet 8. We would like to thank all of our intergalactic audience for listening. Be sure to head on over to our website at www.planet8podcast.com, where you can get more information on this episode's topic.
For more conversation, find us on Twitter at Planet8Cast.
Or on Facebook at facebook.com/Planet8Podcast.
We want to thank you guys for tuning in each and every episode. We look forward to your input and opinions. Until next time, this is Planet 8 signing off. End transmission.
By George, he's got it. It is the end.